The conference room on Zentara Prime was enormous. Hundreds of alien species sat in their designated seats, representing their worlds across the galaxy. Ambassador Choi Hana stood at the human podium, her hands trembling slightly as she looked at the sea of faces before her. Some had scales, others had fur, and many had features she still couldn't quite understand, even after 3 years on the Galactic Council. "The Vryn Dominion has issued an ultimatum," she said, her voice echoing through the translation devices. "They demand 3 agricultural worlds. 4 billion lives are at stake. We cannot simply surrender these worlds to aggression." A ripple of chittering sounds filled the chamber. The counselor from Heptar, a large creature with 6 eyes, waved a limb dismissively. "Ambassador Choi, your species has been part of this council for only 37 years. You do not understand the complexities of galactic politics." Choi Hana felt her jaw tighten. "I understand that innocent people will die if we do nothing." "The Vryn have 800 warships," another counselor interrupted. "What would you have us do? Start a war we cannot win?" "Earth can help," Choi Hana said firmly. "Let us lead a coalition defense force. We have trained personnel, strategic experience, and—" Laughter erupted across the chamber. It wasn't polite laughter. It was mocking, cruel. The Heptar counselor's eyes gleamed with amusement. "You lead a defense force? Humanity is permitted only 17 armed vessels." 17! What could you possibly do against the Vryn Dominion? Choi Hana's face burned with humiliation, but she kept her voice steady. "We can do more than you think. This is exactly why humanity remains on probationary status," the Heptar counselor continued. "You overestimate your importance. You have 1 colony world, limited technology, and no real military power. Perhaps in another century you will understand your place." The vote came swiftly. 412 counselors voted to surrender the agricultural worlds. Only 1 voted against it. Earth stood alone. Across the galaxy, Captain Park Day watched the vote results on the view screen of the ESS Teguki. His patrol vessel drifted near Earth's only colony, New Sol, on the planet humans called Kepler 442b. The crew around him stood in shocked silence. "They're just giving up?" his first officer whispered. 4 billion people? Park Day's hands clenched into fists. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need instructions." The reply came within an hour, encrypted and marked with the highest security clearance. Park Day read it 3 times before he believed what he was seeing. His first officer leaned over his shoulder and gasped. "Is this real?" she asked. "Apparently so," Park Day replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Project Homecoming is active." On Zentara Prime, the Vryn ambassador addressed the council. He was a tall being, covered in dark armor-like skin with cold yellow eyes that seemed to see through everything. "The council has made a wise choice," he said smoothly. "The 3 agricultural worlds will be absorbed into the Dominion within the week. Their populations will be relocated." Everyone knew what that meant. Relocation was a gentle word for something far darker. The Vryn ambassador's gaze swept across the chamber and landed on Choi Hana. His mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "I see the human ambassador looks distressed. Tell me, representative of Earth, do you have something more to say? Another brave speech about justice and courage?" Choi Hana met his eyes. "We will not forget this." "You are silent when it matters," the Vryn ambassador said, his voice dripping with contempt. "The silent species speaks only to show its ignorance. You have no fleet, no power, no voice that matters in this council. Earth is nothing, a backwater world playing at civilization." The chamber remained quiet. No one defended Earth. No one spoke up. They had made their choice. Choi Hana gathered her materials and walked out of the chamber. Her assistant, a young man named Lee Kwan, hurried after her. "Ambassador, what do we do now?" She stopped and looked at him. "We send one final message to Earth." In her private quarters, Choi Hana recorded a transmission. Her face was calm, but her eyes blazed with determination. "This is Ambassador Choi Hana to Earth Command and the United Earth Assembly. The Council has voted to surrender 3 agricultural worlds to the Vryn Dominion. 4 billion lives will be abandoned." Earth cast the lone dissenting vote. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "The Vryn ambassador publicly stated that Earth is silent, powerless, and irrelevant. He said we have no voice that matters. The Council believes we will accept this decision quietly and continue our probationary status without complaint." Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice was steel. "They believe we will stay silent. Prove them wrong. The transmission reached Earth 7 hours later. In the underground facility beneath the Gobi Desert, Admiral Kim Bora received the message along with the entire United Earth Assembly. The massive chamber, carved from rock and reinforced with advanced materials, had been the secret heart of humanity's greatest project for 3 decades. President Kang Seojin stood at the podium, his face grim. Members of the Assembly, we have reached the moment we hoped would never come. The Galactic Council has shown us exactly what they think of humanity. We are seen as children, as insignificant as a species without power or worth. He pressed a button, and the enormous screens around the chamber lit up with images. Shipyards, thousands of vessels in various stages of construction. Massive dreadnoughts, sleek destroyers, powerful battle carriers. The Assembly members gasped, even though many of them had known Project Homecoming existed. Seeing the full scope of it was something else entirely. For 31 years, President Kang continued, we have built in secret. While the Council restricted us to 17 patrol vessels, we constructed 12,000 warships. They believed we would stay weak, dependent on their approval and guidance. They were wrong. Admiral Kim Bora stepped forward. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but her presence filled the chamber. The fleet is ready. Every ship is crewed, armed, and supplied. We have been waiting for the authorization to reveal ourselves. And the crews? Someone asked. How did we train so many personnel without the Council noticing? We told them we were building merchant vessels and expanding our civilian space program. Admiral Kim Bora replied with a slight smile. They believed us because they thought we were too primitive to lie effectively. Their underestimation has been our greatest advantage. Director Yang Tae of Military Intelligence stood next. Our intelligence networks have mapped every VRIN position, every supply line, every command structure. We know their fleet movements better than they do. We have tactical advantages they cannot imagine. The President looked around the chamber. The question before us is simple. Do we reveal ourselves? Do we take action? The Council expects us to stay silent. Earth has been underestimated since the day we joined the galactic community. What is our answer? The vote was unanimous. Every single member of the Assembly voted yes. Admiral Kim Bora returned to the command center deep within the Gobi facility. Hundreds of officers worked at their stations, coordinating with shipyards across the solar system and beyond. On the moon's far side in the asteroid belt, in underwater facilities Earth's oceans, and in orbital platforms disguised as research stations, the fleet prepared to move. She opened a galaxy-wide communication channel, encoded with protocols that would soon be unencrypted. She wanted everyone to hear this. This is Admiral Kim Bora of the Earth Defense Fleet. To all ships, Project Homecoming is now active. Begin mobilization procedures. Prepare for quantum jump to VRIN space. Time to show the galaxy what humanity can do. Across human-controlled space, 12,000 warships came to life. The news spread across Earth within hours. Every television, every computer screen, every communication device carried the same message. President Kang Seojin's face appeared before billions of humans, his expression serious but determined. People of Earth, he began. For 31 years, your governments have kept a secret. Not a secret of shame, but a secret of hope. Today, that secret is revealed. Images flashed across screens worldwide. The massive shipyards on the far side of the moon, hidden from Earth's view and from galactic observation. The construction facilities built into asteroids disguised as mining operations. The underwater yards in Earth's deepest oceans where submarines had been replaced by spacecraft. And the enormous complex beneath the Gobi Desert. A facility so vast it could house a small city. Project Homecoming, the President continued, was created the day we joined the Galactic Council and realized we would never be treated as equals. While they restricted us to 17 patrol vessels, we built 12,000 warships. Not for conquest, not for aggression, but because we refused to be helpless. In the lunar facility, engineer Kwon Jae stood in the observation deck, looking at the ships floating in the construction bays. The Phoenix-class battle carriers were his design, each one carrying 200 fighter craft and enough firepower to level a small moon. He had spent 15 years of his life on these ships. His assistant, a young engineer named Park Hana, stood beside him with tears in her eyes. "They're beautiful," she whispered. "They're necessary," Kwon Jae replied. Every calculation, every system, every weapon was designed with one purpose: to make sure humanity never has to bow to anyone again. The Phoenix-class battle carriers numbered 3,000. Each one was 800 meters long, bristling with advanced weaponry reverse-engineered from alien technology that humanity had been carefully studying for decades. But the humans hadn't just copied. They had improved. The Guardian-class destroyers numbered 4,500, faster and more maneuverable than any Council military vessel. They were designed for rapid response and overwhelming firepower. The Tempest-class frigates, 3,800 strong, served as the fleet's backbone, capable of both offensive operations and defensive screening. And then there were the Colossus-class dreadnoughts. 700 of them. Each one was 2 kilometers long, armed with weapons that could crack a planet's crust. They were the hammer that would break any enemy fleet. But the real secret, the true advantage, was the quantum slip drive. Dr. Lee Yuna had led the research team that developed it, working from theoretical physics that the Galactic Council had dismissed as impossible. The Council's ships used standard jump drives that folded space. The quantum slip drive did something different. It allowed ships to move through a layer of space where the normal rules didn't quite apply. The result was simple. Earth ships could move 3 times faster than any other fleet in the galaxy. Dr. Lee Yuna sat in her laboratory, watching the news broadcasts with a satisfied smile. Her team had been told their research would never amount to anything practical. The Council's scientists had laughed at their papers. Now, 12,000 ships were equipped with drives that made the impossible real. At the Mars Orbital Station, Colonel Nam Su assembled his troops. The 1st Marine Expeditionary Force consisted of 50,000 soldiers trained for ship-to-ship combat, planetary assault, and every form of warfare humanity had ever invented. They wore advanced armor that combined human engineering with adapted alien technology, making each soldier a formidable fighting unit. Listen up. Colonel Nam Su addressed his Marines. His voice was rough, earned from 30 years of military service. The galaxy thinks we're weak. They think we're children playing soldier. Today we show them what human Marines can do. We're not going to Vryn space to conquer. We're going to liberate 3 worlds and send a message. Humanity is not silent anymore. The Marines cheered, their voices echoing through the station. Captain Han Minji sat in the cockpit of her fighter, running pre-flight checks. Dragon Squadron, the elite fighter wing she commanded, consisted of 50 pilots who had trained in secret for this exact moment. Her fighter was sleek and deadly, armed with plasma cannons and equipped with the same quantum slip drive that powered the capital ships. Dragon Squadron. This is Dragon Lead, she said over the communications channel. Final equipment check. We launch in 6 hours. Her wingmate, Lieutenant Shinara, responded immediately. Dragon 2 ready, all systems green. One by one, the other pilots reported in. 50 fighters ready for combat. They would be the tip of the spear, the first units to engage enemy forces. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim Bora stood in the command center beneath the Gobi Desert. The room was filled with holographic displays showing every ship, every formation, every supply line. Fleet Coordinator Song Ina worked at a massive console, managing data streams from 12,000 vessels simultaneously. Admiral, Song Ina reported, all ships are reporting ready status. Mobilization is ahead of schedule. Admiral Kim Bora nodded. The Council had believed mobilizing such a large fleet would take months. Earth was doing it in 76 hours. Every ship had been pre-positioned, every crew had been trained, every supply cache had been prepared. When you spent 3 decades planning for one moment, you didn't waste time when it arrived. Send a message to New Seoul, Admiral Kim Bora ordered. Tell them help is coming. Tell them to hold the line. On the colony world of New Seoul, 12 million humans received the message. The Vryn fleet was already moving toward the agricultural worlds, and there were fears that the Dominion might strike at human colonies as well. Captain Park Day and the other patrol vessels had been ordered to evacuate civilians if necessary. Now, looking at the decoded message, Park Day felt hope surge through him. Relay this to all colonists, he ordered. Let them know Earth hasn't abandoned us. The message was simple but powerful. Help is coming. Hold the line. Across human space, the fleet began to move. Battle Group North, commanded by Admiral Kim Bora herself, consisted of 3,200 ships. Battle Group South, under Vice Admiral Park Sung, had 2,800 vessels. Battle Group East, led by Rear Admiral Hong Kyung, numbered 3,100 ships. Battle Group West, commanded by Commodore Yunhai, was the smallest but most aggressive formation with 2,900 warships. Each battle group had a specific mission. North would engage the Vryn occupation fleet at the agricultural worlds. South would strike supply lines and reinforcement routes. East would focus on planetary liberation. West would do something the galaxy believed impossible. They would attack the Vryn homeworld directly. The quantum slip drives activated in sequence. Space around Earth and its facilities rippled with energy. Thousands of ships began to fade from normal space, entering the quantum layer where they could move faster than physics should allow. Engineer Quan Jay watched the Phoenix-class battle carriers disappear from the lunar yards. Each one carried thousands of personnel, hundreds of fighters, and enough supplies for extended combat operations. He had built them to last, to fight, and to win. Good luck, he whispered to the empty space where the ships had been. Dr. Lee Yuna monitored the quantum slip drive performance from her laboratory. Every ship was transmitting data back to Earth, allowing her to track their progress. The drives were performing beyond expectations. The fleet would reach Vryn space in 3 days instead of the 9 days Council ships would have required. They won't know what hit them, her assistant said. Dr. Lee Yuna shook her head. They will know. That's the point. We want them to know humanity is coming. We want them to have time to realize they made a terrible mistake. In his quarters on the battle carrier Teguki's Honor, Captain Park Day prepared for combat. His small patrol vessel had been reassigned to the main fleet, attached to Battle Group North. He would finally see what humanity had built in secret. The thought filled him with pride and fear in equal measure. Pride that his species had accomplished something incredible. Fear that they were about to fight the most powerful military empire in the known galaxy. But mostly, he felt determination. The Vryn had called humanity silent, powerless, irrelevant. They had mocked Earth's ambassador in front of the entire Galactic Council. They had threatened innocent worlds and expected no consequences. They were about to learn a hard lesson. Admiral Kim Bora stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Soul's Hammer, her flagship for this operation. The massive vessel was 2 kilometers of advanced human engineering, carrying enough firepower to fight a small war by itself. Around her, the crew worked efficiently, preparing for combat. All ships have successfully entered quantum slip, her communications officer reported. Estimated arrival at Vryn-occupied agricultural worlds in 72 hours. Good, Admiral Kim Bora replied. She looked at the holographic display showing the fleet's position. 12,000 ships moving as one, united in purpose. Send a message to all battle groups. When we arrive, hit them with everything. No warnings, no negotiations. The time for talk ended when the Council voted to abandon 4 billion people. She paused, then added, and make sure every ship records everything. When this is over, the galaxy will know exactly what happened. They will know humanity kept its word. The Vryn occupation fleet sat in orbit around the first agricultural world, confident and relaxed. Commander Thakron stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the evacuation operations below. 400 Vryn warships surrounded the planet, more than enough to handle any resistance. The population is being loaded onto transport vessels, his second officer reported. Relocation will be complete in 6 days. Thakron nodded, satisfied. The Council had surrendered without a fight, as he knew they would. The Dominion's reputation for ruthlessness had served them well. No one wanted to face their fleet in open combat. Sir, we're detecting unusual readings in Sector 7, the sensor officer said suddenly. Something just appeared at the edge of the system. Pirates? Thakron asked dismissively. Send 2 destroyers to investigate. Sir, the readings are multiplying. I'm showing. This can't be right. I'm showing 3,000 contacts. Thakron spun around. 3,000? Check your sensors. They must be malfunctioning. But the sensors were working perfectly. On every screen, on every display, contacts appeared. Ships. Thousands of them. They materialized from quantum space in perfect formation, spread across millions of kilometers of space. Identify them, Thakron ordered, his voice tight. They're broadcasting identification codes. Human ships, sir. Earth Defense Fleet. Thakron stared at the displays in disbelief. That's impossible. The humans have 17 patrol vessels. 17? This must be a trick, some kind of holographic projection. Sir, our sensors confirm solid mass readings. These are real ships. Before Thakron could respond, Every communication channel lit up with an incoming transmission. A human female appeared on the screen, wearing a military uniform with admiral's insignia. She looked directly into the camera, her expression cold and hard. "This is Admiral Kim Bora of the Earth Defense Fleet commanding Battle Group North. You are in violation of Galactic Council law by occupying this world without authorization. You have one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. You have 10 minutes to comply." Thakron laughed, though it sounded forced even to his own ears. "Broadcast a response. Tell them they are facing the Vryn Dominion's occupation fleet. Tell them to retreat immediately or be destroyed." The human admiral's expression didn't change. "Your 10 minutes begin now. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Thakron turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare for combat." These humans are bluffing. They must be using some kind of stealth technology to make a few ships look like many. When we engage, their deception will fail. But it wasn't a deception. When the 10 minutes expired, Admiral Kim Bora gave a single order. "All ships fire at will." 3,000 human warships opened fire simultaneously. The Vryn had never seen weapons like these. Plasma cannons that burned hotter than any Council military technology. Railguns that fired projectiles at a percentage of light speed. Missile systems that deployed hundreds of smart munitions capable of independent targeting. The Vryn occupation fleet tried to respond, but they were outmatched in every category. Their shields couldn't handle the intensity of human weapons. Their targeting systems couldn't track ships that moved faster than any vessel they had encountered. Their formation broke apart within minutes. Thakron watched in horror as his fleet was torn to pieces. A human destroyer, one of their smaller ships, destroyed 3 Vryn cruisers in less than 2 minutes. A human battle carrier launched 200 fighters that swarmed over his vessels like angry insects. "All ships retreat," he ordered desperately. "Fall back to the second planet." But retreat was impossible. The human ships were faster. They cut off escape routes before the Vryn could react. Captain Han Minji led Dragon Squadron through the Vryn formations. Her fighter dodging return fire with ease while her plasma cannons destroyed target after target. Dragon 2, "Take the cruiser on the left," she ordered. Dragon 3 and 4, "Suppress those destroyers." 5 through 10, "Cover the bombing run." Lieutenant Shinara responded immediately, her fighter diving toward a Vryn cruiser and unleashing a barrage that cracked its hull open. The cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Dragon 2, "Target eliminated," Shinara reported calmly. On the surface of the agricultural world, the population watched the battle in the sky with mixed fear and hope. They had expected to be relocated, possibly killed. Now someone was fighting for them. Human ships filled the orbital space above, and the Vryn fleet that had seemed so powerful was falling apart. The battle lasted 7 hours. When it ended, 356 Vryn warships had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 44 vessels had surrendered, their crews in shock at what had happened. Admiral Kim Bora stood on the bridge of Sol's Hammer, listening to casualty reports. 127 human ships had been lost. 89,000 personnel were dead. The numbers hurt, but she had expected worse. "Secure all Vryn prisoners," she ordered. "Medical teams to the damaged ships. I want everyone who can be saved saved. And send a message to the surface. Tell the population they are free. Earth has liberated this world." While Battle Group North fought in orbit, Battle Group South executed its mission perfectly. Vice Admiral Park Sung's 2,800 ships struck at Vryn supply lines across 3 star systems. The Vryn had supply stations, fuel depots, and ammunition storage facilities scattered along their trade routes. They didn't anymore. Commander Beck Jun, tactical officer aboard the dreadnought Sol's Hammer, coordinated the attacks with precision. Each target was hit by overwhelming force, destroyed before the Vryn could respond or evacuate. No civilian targets were struck. No unnecessary destruction was caused. But the Vryn military logistics network was crippled in a single day. Battle Group East under Rear Admiral Hong Kyung approached the second agricultural world. The Vryn had stationed 300 ships here believing it was safe. They were wrong. The human fleet appeared without warning, using their quantum slip drives to arrive deep inside the system. The Vryn had no time to prepare, no time to organize a defense. The battle was even more one-sided than at the First World. Colonel Nam Su led the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force onto the planet's surface. His troops deployed from dropships, securing the population centers and freeing imprisoned civilians. The Vryn ground forces, expecting an easy occupation, found themselves facing human soldiers in advanced armor carrying weapons they couldn't match. "Secure the command center," Colonel Nam Su ordered, his voice carrying over the tactical network. "Non-lethal force when possible, but protect the civilians first." His Marines moved through the Vryn positions like a storm. The occupation forces surrendered in waves, overwhelmed by the speed and efficiency of the human assault. Within 18 hours, the Second Agricultural World was liberated, but the most audacious operation was yet to come. Battle Group West, commanded by Commodore Yoon Hai, had a mission that made even seasoned officers nervous. They were going to attack Krell Prime, the Vryn homeworld. It was defended by 800 warships, the core of the Dominion's military power. The plan was insane by conventional military standards. No one attacked an enemy's homeworld directly. You weakened them first, destroyed their fleets in smaller engagements, cut their supply lines, and only then did you strike at their heart. Commodore Yoon Hai didn't believe in conventional military standards. "All ships, prepare for quantum jump directly into Krell Prime's orbital space," he ordered. His flagship, the battle carrier Indomitable Dawn, led the formation. 2,900 ships prepared to do something the galaxy believed was impossible. They jumped. The Vryn Home Defense Fleet was conducting routine patrols when warning alarms screamed across every ship simultaneously. 3,000 contacts appeared in orbital space around their planet. Impossible contacts. Human contacts. The Vryn High Command, seated in their war room on the planet's surface, stared at their displays in disbelief. The human fleet had bypassed every defensive position, every sensor network, every warning system. They had jumped directly to the homeworld. Captain Park Day, now commanding a cruiser attached to Battle Group West, watched the Vryn defense fleet scramble to respond. 800 ships, the pride of the Dominion, moving to engage. He opened a communication channel broadcasting on all frequencies. His message was simple and clear. "You called us silent. You mocked our voice. Now hear it clearly. Leave the agricultural worlds. Release all prisoners. Withdraw your fleets, or we will dismantle your empire system by system. This is your only warning." The Vryn response came from the High Command itself. "You dare threaten us in our own space? You are a minor species with delusions of power. We will destroy your fleet and then we will burn Earth to ashes." Captain Parkday closed the channel and looked at his crew. "Well, we tried diplomacy. Weapons free." The siege of Krell Prime began with a fury that shocked the galaxy. The human fleet didn't try to destroy the planet or target civilians. They focused entirely on the military fleet, and they did it with a precision and power that the Vryn had never encountered. The quantum slip drives gave human ships a mobility advantage that was almost unfair. They could jump short distances within a system, appearing behind enemy formations, striking weak points. The Vryn population watched from the surface of Krell Prime as their mighty defense fleet was systematically destroyed in orbit. For generations, they had been told the Dominion was invincible. Their military was the strongest in the region. Their empire spanned 40-star systems. No one could challenge them. The human fleet above them proved every one of those claims was a lie. Captain Jiang Mina commanded the Stealth Reconnaissance Division, 12 ships equipped with advanced cloaking technology that made them invisible to Vryn sensors. While the main battle raged in orbit, her ships moved through the system, gathering intelligence and searching for hidden military installations. "Captain, I'm detecting launch facilities on the third moon," her sensor officer reported. "They're preparing missiles, probably targeting our ships." Captain Jiang Mina nodded. "Mark the position and transmit to the fleet. And scan for civilians in the area. I don't want collateral damage. No civilians detected within 10 kilometers. The facility is purely military." "Good. Send the coordinates to the nearest battle group." 3 minutes later, a human destroyer appeared above the moon and eliminated the missile facility with surgical precision. No one on the moon's surface was harmed. Only the military installation was destroyed. This pattern repeated across the Krell Prime system. Human forces struck only military targets. Civilian infrastructure was untouched. Residential areas were protected. Even Vryn military personnel who surrendered were treated with respect and provided medical care. The Vryn civilians had expected destruction, orbital bombardment, the kind of merciless warfare their own military had inflicted on others. Instead, they saw restraint, discipline, and a clear distinction between combatants and non-combatants. On the planet's surface, Captain Odong led a covert insertion team through the streets of the capital city. His mission was specific and dangerous. Intelligence reports indicated the Vrin were holding prisoners from the Council species, civilians captured during previous conflicts. Team, eyes open, Captain Odong said quietly into his communication device. We're looking for the detention complex. According to our intel, it should be 2 kilometers northeast. His team consisted of 20 special operations soldiers, each one trained for exactly this kind of mission. They moved through the city unseen, using advanced camouflage technology and careful planning. The Vrin military presence on the ground was minimal. Most of their forces were trying to deal with the fleet in orbit. The detention complex was a grim building surrounded by security fences and guard towers. Captain Odong watched it through binoculars, counting guards and identifying weak points. I count 12 guards visible, probably more inside. We go in quiet. No casualties unless absolutely necessary. His team moved with practiced efficiency. Guards were neutralized with non-lethal weapons. Security systems were disabled by their tech specialist. Within 15 minutes, they were inside the complex. What they found made Captain Odong's blood boil. Hundreds of civilians from various council species locked in small cells, many showing signs of mistreatment. These were people who had been captured when the Vrin took other worlds, held as hostages or slave labor. This is Captain Odong to Fleet Command, he transmitted. We've found the prisoners, requesting immediate extraction and medical support. Admiral Kim Bora's response came quickly. Extraction team is inbound. Get those people out of there. While Odong's team freed the prisoners, the battle in orbit reached a critical point. The Vrin defense fleet was down to 140 ships, and their commanders were arguing among themselves. Some wanted to continue fighting. Others believed surrender was the only option. Commander Beck June, monitoring communications from the Soul's Hammer, picked up the internal Vrin transmissions. Admiral, the Vrin command structure is fracturing. We're intercepting multiple conflicting orders. Admiral Kim Bora studied the tactical display. They're breaking. Broadcast another message. Offer terms again. The message went out across all channels. Vrin vessels, this is Admiral Kim Bora. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Your personnel will be safe. Your families will not be harmed. You have 1 hour to decide. On the surface, the Vrin High Command met in emergency session. The military leaders who had been so confident a week ago now faced the destruction of everything they had built. General Kratos, the supreme military commander, looked around the table at his fellow officers. We underestimated them, he said bitterly. We believed the Council's reports that humanity was weak, primitive, irrelevant. We were wrong. We can still fight, one officer insisted. Mobilize the planetary defenses, arm the civilian population? No, General Kratos interrupted. We have lost. The humans have shown restraint so far, targeting only military assets. If we force them to attack the planet itself, our people will suffer. I will not condemn billions of Vrin civilians to death because of our pride. The room fell silent. Finally, another officer spoke. What do you propose? A military coup, General Kratos replied. We remove the High Command, including myself, and form a provisional government. Then we contact the humans and negotiate surrender terms. It took 3 hours for the coup to succeed. The old High Command was arrested without bloodshed. A new provisional government, led by more moderate Vrin officials, took control. Their first act was to contact Admiral Kim Bora. This is the Vrin Provisional Government, the message began. The speaker was an older Vrin named Tharon, a civilian administrator who had opposed the aggressive military expansion. We wish to negotiate surrender terms. Our military fleet will stand down immediately. Admiral Kim Bora conferred with her senior officers before responding. We accept your request for negotiation. Our terms are as follows. Complete withdrawal from all 3 agricultural worlds within 72 hours. Release of all prisoners, both military and civilian. Reparations to be paid to the affected worlds. Reduction of the Vrin military to defensive forces only. And a formal apology to the Galactic Council and to Earth. Tharon listened to the terms with a heavy expression. These terms are harsh but fair, we accept. However, we request that our military personnel being held by your forces be treated well. They are already receiving medical care and humane treatment. Admiral Kim Bora replied. Earth does not abuse prisoners. We are not like your previous government. The fighting stopped within the hour. Vryn ships powered down their weapons and prepared to be escorted to designated holding areas. The siege of Krell Prime was over. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. Earth, the species the Council had dismissed as weak and irrelevant, had defeated the Vryn Dominion in less than a week. 12,000 ships had appeared from nowhere, fought with incredible skill and achieved total victory. On Zentara Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber was filled with shocked and confused representatives. The Heptar counselor who had mocked Ambassador Choi Hana now sat in stunned silence. Ambassador Lim Jiwoo, who had replaced Choi Hana as Earth's representative, stood at the human podium. He was an older man with gray hair and the calm demeanor of someone who had seen much in his life. Honorable members of the council, he began, I understand you have questions. Where did those ships come from? The Heptar counselor demanded. You had 17 vessels. 17! Ambassador Lim Jiwoo smiled slightly. We had 17 registered military vessels. You restricted what we could register. You said nothing about what we could build. You deceived us, another counselor accused. No, Ambassador Lim Jiwoo replied firmly. We simply chose not to advertise our industrial capacity, our asteroid mining operations, or our right to defend ourselves. The Council made it clear that humanity would never be treated as equals, that we would always be probationary members, subject to your restrictions. We decided to prepare for the day when we would need to act independently. He activated a holographic display showing footage from the battle, Vryn ships being destroyed, human ships moving with precision, and most importantly, the liberation of the agricultural worlds and the rescue of prisoners. Notice something, Ambassador Lim Jiwoo said. Every target we hit was military. No civilian casualties. No unnecessary destruction. No war crimes. Earth went to war because the Council abandoned 4 billion innocent people. We fought with honor and restraint, even against an enemy that showed neither. The chamber remained silent as the footage played. The counselors watched human ships engage in combat, saw the discipline of Earth's forces, witnessed the care taken to avoid harming civilians. The Vryn have surrendered, Ambassador Lim Jiwoo continued. They have agreed to withdraw from all occupied territories, release all prisoners, pay reparations, and reduce their military to defensive forces only. The agricultural worlds are free. The 4 billion people the Council voted to abandon are safe. This was accomplished by the fleet you did not believe existed. He paused, letting his words sink in. Earth has proven that underestimating humanity is a mistake. We are not your children. We are not weak. We are not irrelevant. We are a civilization capable of both building 12,000 warships and exercising the restraint, not to abuse that power. The Heptar counselor who had mocked Choi Hana finally spoke, his voice much quieter than before. 6 months after the war ended, the agricultural worlds were healing. Human engineering teams worked alongside local populations, rebuilding infrastructure damaged during the brief Vryn occupation. Medical personnel from Earth treated injured civilians. Teachers helped restore schools. The recovery was happening faster than anyone had expected. President Kang Seojin visited the first liberated world, walking through a city market that had been empty during the occupation. Now it was filled with people, with life, with hope. Children ran through the streets and merchants sold their goods. It looked like peace. Mr. President, the local governor said, walking beside him, your people have done more in 6 months than the council did in years. Why? President Kang Seojin smiled. Because we remember what it's like to feel helpless. Earth decided that when we had power, we would use it to help others, not dominate them. The human casualties from the war were mourned across Earth. 847 ships had been lost. 623,000 personnel had died. 1.2 million were wounded. Memorial services were held in every city and every nation. The names of the dead were carved into monuments that would stand for centuries. But the living remembered why those people had died. They had died to save 4 billion strangers. They had died to prove humanity would not stay silent in the face of injustice. They had died so Earth could stand as equals among the stars. Admiral Kim Bora attended a memorial service in Seoul, standing before a wall covered with names. So many names. Some of them were people she had known personally, officers she had trained, soldiers who had believed in Project Homecoming. We won. She whispered to the memorial. We did what we set out to do. I hope that matters. I hope you can rest knowing it mattered. She had announced her retirement the week before. 35 years of military service had been enough. Project Homecoming was complete. The fleet was operational. Earth's security was assured. It was time for younger officers to lead, but her legacy would last forever. She had commanded the fleet that changed everything. The Galactic Council's formal apology to Earth came 2 months after the war. It was read aloud in the Great Chamber on Zentara Prime, with every member species in attendance. The Heptar counselor, who had mocked humanity so cruelly, personally delivered part of the apology. We were wrong, he said, his 6 eyes focused on Ambassador Lim Jiwoo. We underestimated your species. We treated you as children when you deserved respect. We dismissed your voice when we should have listened. The Council formally apologizes to humanity and offers full membership with all associated rights and privileges, including a permanent seat on the Security Council. Ambassador Lim Jiwoo accepted gracefully. The Council's apology is accepted. Earth looks forward to working with all member species as equals, partners in maintaining galactic peace and prosperity. The vote for Earth's full membership was unanimous. 413 counselors voted yes, not a single dissenting voice. The transformation was complete. Humanity had gone from probationary members to full council members with Security Council privileges in less than a year, but Earth made it clear they would not abuse this new status. When 17 other council species requested mutual defense treaties, Earth accepted. But the treaties were carefully written to ensure they were truly mutual. Earth would help defend its allies, and allies would help defend Earth. No one would be a protectorate or vassal. Everyone would be partners. The Vryn Dominion transformed in the months after surrender. The provisional government held elections, the first free elections in Vryn history. The militaristic empire began converting to a more peaceful civilization. It was a slow process, and many Vryn struggled with the change, but it was happening. Tharon, elected as the first democratic leader of the Vryn, initiated cultural exchange programs with humanity. Vryn students studied on Earth. Human students visited Krell Prime. The species that had been enemies were learning to understand each other. We were taught that strength meant conquest, Tharon said in an interview with an Earth news organization. Humanity showed us that real strength means protecting the weak, showing mercy to the defeated, and building rather than destroying. It's a hard lesson, but we are learning. Captain Park Day, promoted to admiral after the war, now commanded the 4th Fleet. 8,000 human ships remained in active service. The rest had been placed in reserve, mothballed in case they were ever needed again. The active fleet was spread across human space and stationed at strategic locations throughout Council territory. Earth had become a major military power, and everyone knew it. But the fleet wasn't used for conquest or intimidation. It was used for peacekeeping, disaster relief, and defending council members who requested help. Admiral Park Day stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the stars through the viewport. He thought about how much had changed in such a short time. A year ago, he had commanded a small patrol vessel with minimal weapons. Now he commanded thousands of ships and had the respect of the entire galaxy. Sir, incoming transmission from Council headquarters, his communications officer said. They're requesting fleet assistance with a pirate situation in the Outer Rim. Admiral Park Day smiled. Set course. Let's show them what Earth can do when we're working together. Dr. Lee Yuna received the Council's highest scientific honor for her work on the quantum slip drive. She accepted the award in a ceremony attended by scientists from across the galaxy. Many of them had dismissed her research years ago. Now they wanted to learn from her. The key to breakthrough innovation, she said in her acceptance speech, is refusing to accept that something is impossible just because others say it is. Earth was told we couldn't build a faster drive. We were told our physics was wrong, our theories were flawed. We built it anyway, and now the entire galaxy benefits from that persistence. The quantum slip drive technology was shared with council members, another sign that Earth was interested in cooperation, not dominance. The galaxy's ships could now move faster, trade routes became more efficient, and emergency response times improved dramatically. Engineer Quan Jay started a new project, something he had dreamed about for years, an explorer vessel designed not for war, but for peaceful deep space exploration. The ship would travel beyond Council space, seeking new worlds and new civilizations. We built 12,000 warships because we had to, he told his design team. Now we can build ships for the reasons we went to space in the first place. To explore, to discover, to learn. The prototype explorer ship was named Horizon's Promise. It was beautiful, sleek and efficient, equipped with advanced sensors and laboratories. No weapons beyond basic defensive systems. It represented what humanity hoped to become. Explorers rather than warriors. Captain Han Minji and Dragon Squadron received new assignments as permanent Council peacekeepers. They traveled from system to system, responding to emergencies and providing security. The elite fighter wing that had proven themselves in combat now worked to prevent future conflicts. It's better than fighting, Lieutenant Shin Ara said to her during a quiet moment between missions, knowing we're keeping the peace instead of making war. Captain Han Minji nodded. But we had to fight first. We had to prove we could win before anyone would listen to us about peace. That's the sad truth of the galaxy. Colonel Namsu's Marines returned to Earth as heroes. Parades were held in their honor. They had liberated worlds, rescued prisoners, and fought with distinction. But many of them struggled with what they had experienced. The Marine Corps established comprehensive support programs, making sure soldiers received the help they needed. War changes you, Colonel Namsu said in a speech to new recruits. Even when you win, even when your cause is just, it changes you. Take care of each other. Remember why we fight, and never forget the cost. Ambassador Choi Hana, who had delivered that fateful final message from Zentara Prime, returned to the Council with a new role. She was appointed as Earth's chief negotiator for a new galactic charter, one that would prevent future conflicts like the Vryn situation. Her proposal was simple. Any Council member that faced aggressive military action could request immediate assistance from other members. No more votes to surrender innocent worlds. No more abandoning billions of people to their fate. The galaxy would stand together or the Council would be meaningless. The proposal passed with overwhelming support. The Vryn situation had frightened every member species. They had seen how quickly aggression could succeed when the Council was divided. Earth's solution offered a way to prevent that from happening again. Historian Dr. No Yoonji published the first comprehensive account of the war, based on interviews with participants and analysis of military records. The book became required reading in schools across Earth and was translated into dozens of galactic languages. She ended the book with a question. What would have happened if Earth had stayed silent? 4 billion people would have been relocated or killed. The Vryn would have been emboldened to take more worlds. The Council would have learned that surrender was easier than resistance. One species chose to act and everything changed. President Kang Seojin gave his final address as his term ended. He stood before the United Earth Assembly and reflected on the incredible journey humanity